After a serious accident with the flying kipper, Henry was sent to crew works on the mainland for a rebuild. He'd been gone for a long time, and the engines missed him very much. Until one day, the Fat Controller came to see them. I have great news. Henry has completed his final tests and will be coming back to Sodor. We shall be having a little celebration to welcome him home. All who can make it will attend. The engines were very excited. They couldn't wait to see their old friend again. A few days later, some of the engines were at the big station. Lots of people had come to welcome Henry back. A large banner reading "Welcome Home" hung from the station canopy. The engines waited impatiently. I wonder what he will look like. Maybe he will be as big as you, Gordon. Pah, nonsense. Yes, then. Here he comes. The engines watched as a very unfamiliar green engine steamed into the station. While he did share some similarities with Henry, the shape of the engine was completely different from the engine who left the crew. Hello, everyone. Is something wrong? Henry? Yes, James? You look so different. Ha! I know. I knew they were going to give me a rebuild, but I had no idea they were planning on making me a completely different engine. Well, I think you look splendid, if I do say so myself. You do seem very well. I bet you're really strong now. Definitely. I feel it too. I can't wait to start work again. The engines all enjoyed the rest of the day. They chatted and laughed with their old friend until it was time to get back to work. Later that evening, the engines continued their party at the sheds. I told you he would be as big as you, Gordon. Oh, honestly, Percy. Though I must say, he isn't far off. How have you been since your rebuild, Henry? I don't think I've ever felt so well in my life. It's as if I'm a completely different engine. So you won't need me going off all the way to the mainland to fetch special coal for you. Oh please, James. The old Henry who used to break down all the time is long gone. I, the new Henry, am here to stay. Calm down, you're starting to sound like Gordon. Oh, for goodness sake, can't we just celebrate Henry's return in peace? The engines all laughed, all except one, Emily. She couldn't help but shake off the feeling that something was very off. The next morning, she decided to speak to Gordon. Gordon, do you feel that something is off about Henry? No. Why? Well, it's just, I've been around for a long time, but I've never seen a rebuild like that before. How is it possible to take an engine like that and rebuild him into a Midland design? I'm not actually sure, to be honest. It is rather strange. You don't think that... Nonsense. The people at crew must be really good at what they are doing. Yeah, maybe. Right, well, I'm off. Don't worry, little Emily. I assure you that that is our Henry. Right. See you, Gordon. Jeez, it needs his valve gear looking at. Soon, Emily was off with her own passenger train. However, she was unable to shake the thought about Henry out of her mind. It just didn't make sense to her. Later, she met James at Maron. Good morning, Emily. James? Are you alright? I've just been doing some thinking. Oh, really? About what? Emily told James about what she had said to Gordon. James frowned as he took in what Emily said. I don't know. It just seems a bit strange. Huh, you do make a good point. Doesn't really make sense. Well, I don't know. Gordon told me not to worry about it. Do you believe him? Well, I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't believe the Fat Controller would do that, but then... Something does seem fishy. Thanks for pointing it out, Emily. I'll have a word with Henry next time I see him. And with that, James puffed away, leaving Emily behind. and unfortunately, Henry was not the next engine James saw. It was young, impressionable Percy instead. Hello, James. Are you alright? Ha! Emily just told me something, and it's got me thinking. About what? Emily reckons that the engine that arrived yesterday isn't Henry. She reckons it's his replacement. What? She has a good point. How can you take an engine like that and completely rebuild it into a different design? It doesn't make sense. Just wait until next time I see that engine. I'll give him what for. And with that, James puffed away, leaving a very confused Percy behind. Meanwhile, Gordon was puffing down the line. What Emily had said was still playing on his mind. He was trying to get his head around it. I do see her point. How was a rebuild like that possible? Unless it wasn't a rebuild. Gordon was getting so worried he was starting to doubt himself. He began to wonder if Emily was right. When he arrived at Barrow in Furnace, he'd practically convinced himself that Emily was right. He came off the express and puffed onto the sidings, fuming. Gordy! Guess who? Madison, don't call me that. That's right, it's your old pal Madison, the Midland engine. Everyone knows Madison. I mean, who doesn't? What do you want? Geez, touchy today. Thought you would be happy. Henry came back from his rebuild yesterday. Boy, let me tell you, I would be pushing him out of any more tunnels anytime soon. Not that I was good at it anyway, but hey, that wasn't my fault. Not much to be excited for when it isn't even Henry. What? Gordon told Madison what Emily had told him that morning. Unfortunately, thinking isn't really Madison's strong suit. She was absolutely fuming. Who does that engine think he is? Coming here lying to us, pretending to be our friend? Just wait until I see him. Oh. The story quickly spread. Soon, almost everyone was talking about the Henry Imposter. Whenever they saw him, they gave him dirty looks. The big green engine was very confused. We can't let him get away with it. You were the one who realised this, Emily. What should we do about it? We will have a meeting with him tonight at the sheds. Get him to tell us the truth. Oh, I'll be there, alright. This is gonna be good. We should get front row seats. Oh dear. What's this? Don't talk, imposter. Excuse me? I've been doing some thinking. What did you say last night? The old Henry who used to break down all the time is long gone. I, the new Henry, am here to stay. What? That's a funny way to word it, isn't it, Henry? If that even is your real name. Okay, this is getting annoying. Can someone explain to me what is going on? Cut it out. We know that you're not our Henry. You're nothing but an imposter. What? It makes sense. How did they take an engine like our Henry and build him into a completely different design from a completely different part of the country? I don't know. I was out for most of it. Likely story. Do you expect us to believe that? What do you take us for? A load of fools, that's what. I'm not an imposter, how dare you? No, how dare you, coming over here and spreading your lies? Some welcome back this is. Henry, are you really telling the truth? Oh, I'll give you a welcome back. Come on, that's enough. What on earth is going on? This engine isn't Henry. Yes, he is. The engines jumped. It was the Fat Controller, stepping down from Edward's cab and walking towards the sheds. He pointed at the 5 engines. Explain yourselves at once. The engines all looked at each other. At last, Emily spoke up. Sir, how exactly is a rebuild like this possible? I mean, how can you take an engine and completely change him to a different design? One that's completely different from the old one? Oh, Emily, You see, I've been intending to have Henry rebuilt for some time now. I'm good friends with the chief engineer, William Stanier. He agreed to have Henry rebuilt at his works. His idea, however, was most interesting. He took Henry completely apart, then used what he could to build a completely new engine. He mainly used parts such as the tender, wheels, then the boiler and even the smoke box. When Henry woke up, he was still him. However, he was a completely new engine. He'd been completely rebuilt from the ground up. That's very impressive. Indeed, I was very surprised at myself when he told me how he did it. Now, I do not appreciate my engines spreading rumors about each other. If any of you had doubts, you should have come to me. Fortunately, Edward was clever enough to come and speak to me. I am very disappointed in all of you. I think you owe Henry an apology. I'm very sorry, Henry, that I started this all. I'm sorry that I doubted you, Henry. I just hated the thought of you being replaced. Me too. I should have never been so stupid. I'm sorry. Yes, I apologize too, Henry. I was just worried that you wouldn't make it. And I'm sorry too, Henry. That's the last time I believe James. Well, it's alright. I can tell that you were all just worried for me. And I appreciate that. Good. And I don't know what you two are doing here, but I suggest you get back to your own shed. Aye, sir. Sorry. It was just a prank. Just a prank. Emily gave up her berth so Henry could join the other engines in the shed. They still felt very sorry and rather silly about the misunderstanding. Henry, however, was willing to forgive and forget. Maybe I can tell you about some of the engines I met at Crew. Yeah, I'd like that. Me too. Well, one engine I met was named Bahamas. A large red tender engine, with a shape very much like my own. Henry continued to tell the other engines stories long into the night. They all agreed that Crew sounded like a very nice place. Even Gordon. But another thing that the engines could all agree on was that they were pleased to have their good friend, Henry the Green Engine, back home once again.